I have talked with one man who worked in the Defense Intelligence Agency who told me, quote, "Linda, our government has proof that 3 competing extraterrestrial civilizations, the blondes don't hate the grays, so they would be tolerated. But the blondes and the reptilians hate each other and want to annihilate, leaving the grays as a kind of strange neutral ground between the two."
Encounter with the Greys from Elena Danaan, an Egyptologist, author, and extraterrestrial channeler, where she recounts the most detailed extraterrestrial abduction by the Chikha Greys, the saving of her life, and the hidden secrets of extraterrestrial life after going through hypnosis to recall this lost memory.
I was now 9 years old with my granny and my younger sister. We were admiring the starry sky by the bedroom window. The UFO changed colour and shot off, zigzagging at a tremendous speed. But it came back that night. 2 of them appeared in my bedroom that night in total silence, smoothly, cunningly, and they seized me. They took me by my arms. Their fingers hurt and bruised my flesh. I was unable to speak, shout, or move. I tried to fight them, but they were holding me strong, and then the whole room started spinning, and I realised they were taking me through a vortex of lights and colours. I was thrown onto a cold, hard floor. This new place was dark and freezing cold. I started crying, so they squeezed my forearm harder. It hurt so much. Sobs dried in my throat. I could see they were not like the ones who took me when I was a baby. These ones looked different, slightly taller, with a wider skull and these big almond-shaped obsidian eyes. They were glossy black suits like vinyl. They were cold, emotionless, and they dragged me onto a narrow medical table. I noticed glowing machines around it. They tied me by the ankles, forearms, and neck. Why were they doing to me? They removed my clothes fast and mechanically. There were low, screechy sound resembling a dentist drill approaching my head. The alien being behind me grabbed my chin to main my head still and straight, and with the drill, inserted something in my skull. Now, they were looking between my legs. I could not move, my nervous system paralysed. They moved very fast, as if they were in a hurry. One of them put large straps around my wrists, and when tightened them, I could feel the sharp pain being caused to the flesh of my wrists. There were thin wires coming out of these straps, connecting to some devices on the side, and it seemed to me there was liquid passing through these tiny needles into my blood. It was a cold, freezing liquid, and my whole body shivered. They inserted something in my private parts with a long, metallic object. The metal was so cold, but the excruciating device was like a burning fire. I could see a light glowing under the skin of my belly. They acted very fast. Their moves were so weirdly mechanical. I was bleeding now, because I could feel the hot liquid pouring out of my womb. They had no consideration. I was just like a piece of meat. They think we have no soul, that we are so inferior to them. They spoke to each other, but it was not a language. It was more like sounds, crackling, creaking, insectoid sounds. They started to yell louder and with more agitation. Something was wrong. Another one appeared on the right. He was like them, but seemed slightly different. He was bigger and more expressive, as if he was a real person, and the others some sort of robots, or clones, or organic machines. This big one seemed worried and angry. 2 of them left the room, and this big one started urging the 2 who stayed to hastily remove my ties. The straps left bleeding triangular marks on my wrists. They needed to be quick, and suddenly there was this big light and the whole structure trembled. I could not move, and it was terrifying. The walls, the ground, everything trembled again, and violent vibrations shook the entire ship. They were not happy with that at all. The bigger grey creature, who seemed to be their supervisor, shouted orders in his weird language, while sounds and lightnings behind the other side of the door were getting louder. Now, I could hear shouts of human voices. The two small greys were confused and their chief seemed furious. He pulled from his shouting again and the door brutally exploded. I was so scared. What was going on? I couldn't move. Two tall men in spacesuits rushed in, wearing helmets. I couldn't see their faces because of the light's reflection and the smoke. A fight with some sort of laser guns engaged, and one of the men lifted the taller grey who seemed in charge. Then he strangled him to death. All the other ones were shot in the head. The same man who had strangled to death the captain of the grey beings lifted me from the table in his arms. My body was not responding, and I was feeling cold, so cold. I could not see their faces due to reflections of the glass helmets. There were flashes of light again coming from the hole in the wall, left by the blast of the explosion. The men rushed with me through it, moving in a hurry. All I could see was the spacesuit of my rescuer and feel its cold plastic material. There was a buzzing, blinding blue light, and then we rushed into an airlock. It was very strange because I could see the stars around us, but we were inside some corridor. It seemed like we were suddenly in a different ship. They rushed into a room bathed with bright light and laid me down on a table that lifted from the floor. It was warm in here. I was feeling safe. There was a woman in that room. She didn't wear a spacesuit and she was beautiful, with straight blonde hair and vibrant, huge green eyes. She wore a skin-tight blue suit, slightly glistening in the artificial light, and her body was slim and harmonious. She was looking at me with concern, and I could feel tension emanating from her. After they laid me on this bench, the men removed their helmets, but I still couldn't see their faces because they were out of my vision. Nonetheless, I had time to notice they were blonde like her, tall and athletic. The woman rapidly cleaned the blood of my tiny body. I let her proceed while releasing my fear, letting go of all tensions and stress. The man who saved my life removed his spacesuit's jacket and covered me with it. It felt so warm. He had wavy hair and the other one long and straight hair. I felt one of men's hands pressing my leg and saying few words in a strange language. I was now in good hands, I knew it. These people had rescued me. There was agitation in the room. The woman was feeling nervous, and the sense of emergency was filling the air stressfully. The gracious woman leaned over me gently, grabbed my face between her hands. She spoke to me in a strange and harmonious language which I couldn't understand, but it seemed I could feel it, that she tried to calm me down. The two men had stepped back and she laid her hands on my shoulders. Her energy felt warm and soothing and poured inside of my tiny body like a delightful waterfall of calmness. This was my first contact with Myra, the mysterious and mesmerizing alien lady who had looked after me all my life besides Thor Han. Their expressions were concerned and grave, and I could see shadows of worry on the lady's pristine face. Her eyes were truly fascinating. They had this crystalline emerald spark. She was smaller than the two other men and had high, prominent cheekbones on a triangular face with a narrow chin. It seemed to me that she was from a different race than the two other ones, as her face structure was dissimilar to her companions. She obviously was of a smaller species. I would also learn later that I was right to think so. These two handsome men were from the Pleiades, and she was from the Sirius B system, all three of them, despite their non-terrestrial origin. Their eyes were wider proportionally to ours, and with a metallic luminosity to them. They had high cheekbones and their bodies looked very fit. I couldn't see where the men had gone to, but I could hear and sense them in the room. Still, my body wasn't responding to my will. I guess the product I'd been injected with needed to dissolve, and then I fell into deeper sleep.
Thank you all for tuning in to this episode on the Greys and to the first part of the extraterrestrial encounter of Elena Danaan's Gift from the Stars. This book can be purchased on Amazon. Stay tuned for the next episode and let us know your thoughts on the Greys. Can humanity place full trust in them? Who serves as Elena's guardian against these beings? Share your insights in the comments. and kindly support the channel by liking this episode. As ever, may the eternal light illuminate your journey. Until next time, as always, may the eternal light guide your path. See you in the next episode.